Yo,
What's up?
happening? Has it been a month? It's been a month, guys.
I
That's
think,
crazy.
yeah.
I can't believe it. I mean, so much has happened. I feel like this November just got thrown out the door, but yeah, I can't believe it. Well, welcome everybody to the Valiant TLDR holiday special. This is definitely a holiday special.
For sure.
We don't have anyone new to share their story today. So for the first segment, we'll just talk about our holidays and what the heck happened and just catch up. And then we're going to dive into what we said we're going to dive in last month, which is XO Man of War. So Noel, you are the new reader and you have a fresh take on it. So we are super excited to hear from you and your thoughts surrounding it. And then the last part is show and tell. And I think we all have a number of pickups that we should be able to share today. I know I do. So I'm pretty
You always do.
not too much usually, but today's a little unique because I might have some unboxing to do as well.
Okay.
I'll attempt to do on camera. Here we are. So how was the holidays, guys?
Pretty good.
Fattening.
Yeah, definitely.
I literally stepped on a scale last night. I gained 4 pounds.
Oh, man.
Many food comas.
Yeah.
It could be 4 pounds of hair too, because I haven't had a haircut for like.
Oh wow! Rub it in, Carl. Rub it in.
Right.
That works. Yeah, usually I'm pre-cut, but this thing just keeps going. So I think it's a thing. But how about you guys? How was the food? How's family? What's the latest?
Yeah, good. I just went over to my parents' house, had dinner with the family. Pretty chill.
And what were the holiday conversations like this year for you guys compared to previous years?
Pretty much the same as always.
Yeah. Things are too expensive. That type of thing.
Yeah.
We went to my brother, my sister-in-law's brother's house who hosted, and it was weird because I guess they just didn't like turkey, so there was no turkey. So we had prime rib, we had all the other kind of stuff, and then we went to pick up our dogs from my mother-in-law's house, and they had their turkey dinner and everything. So we ended up having 2 meals. So nice. I think I'm still full from Thanksgiving evening. I've been waking up very bloated the last 2 nights because last night I ate the leftovers, and then we just keep on going. I mean, the other thing I was thinking a lot about, at least when I was traveling in Korea for the first 2 weeks of the month, was OAX, all the new announcements. I mean, I was super excited about Bart Sears. I don't know about you, SCG, but Bart Sears is the man.
Well, you and I had exchanged some text on a cover, so I kind of left that one alone. And he is doing commission opportunities, and so we'll see if something's able to happen. I've got some side conversations going on with a certain inker that he had on a certain part of his run, so we'll see if anything comes of that. And I mean, I'm looking forward to OAX. I've already got my box started, my portfolio started. I ordered the thing that everybody else was ordering because I didn't want that. You scared me last time I had that cheap backpack, and you told me what happened to yours. And by the time I got back, the edge of the portfolio was almost peeking through the bottom of that thing. I said, "Nah, I'm not having that happen." So I ordered the one everybody else in the chat was ordering.
Yep, I got mine.
Nice. What color? I'm curious.
I think I got blue. I think
mine said it was like Caribbean and khaki.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's cool because I feel like this time around, everyone's gonna be a lot more prepared. And with this backpack, I think Shaheen, who was the one who introduced it to us, who was introduced to it by Trad Moore as his go-to backpack, and Shaheen literally packed everything he needed that weekend in that backpack. And I was like so surprised, and he showed me how it layers and layers and layers. And now, when I travel on trips, like in this Korea trip, if we didn't have our kind of like shopping check-ins, my backpack would have been done. Like I think the last Baltimore Comic Con when I went with Sean Chen, I literally just brought my backpack and it includes all my clothes, all my toiletries, all my comic art. And it's crazy. It's a crazy
Nice.
backpack. Yeah, I wish I found it earlier.
So talking about OAX, are you going to be bringing anything just to do a show and tell, kind of like what we did in Baltimore?
Let's see. OAX, I think I'm gonna bring some stuff that I've been thinking a lot about, kind of moving on from. So one category of collecting that I got into over the pandemic was Marvel card art. No, Marvel cards themselves. Like they're like sketch card art.
Yeah.
And I kind of got out of it, but then I'm starting to see some heat around it. Like people are talking about on stream and whatnot. So I think I might bring those just to like
the card guys are crazy, like in a good way, but they're really, really into it.
Yeah, they're really hardcore. So I have a little portfolio that
card sized.
Yeah, it's like a regular portfolio size, and you know, it basically has like 9 cards per sleeve, and you know,
the 9 panel pages.
Yeah, so if I could like use that and raise some funds and put back into comic art and Valiant stuff, then I'd be pretty happy about that. Commission wise, I have 2. I have
only 2.
Yeah, only 2. I mean, the problem is everyone who, for the most part, I got a lot of the folks that is offering this year already. So I think there wasn't like anyone like brand new for me yet. Hey, boxes of comics, welcome, fellow collectors. Feel free to comment below and chat with us. Brian Wells, what's up, buddy? How's it going? Good morning.
What's up, Brian?
There's an earlier stream for us than usual because the holiday special. We're all comfortable in our pajamas.
Well, for y'all West Coast guys, it's early.
Yeah, really, that's true. It's true. Very early for West Coast for sure. But I'm definitely in my comfort mode for the stream. But yeah, commission wise, I only got 2. I got Nur. What's his last name?
We like Nier.
Yeah. So I know. Noel, you should definitely show and tell your piece later.
Okay.
Screen share. But Nur is awesome, and to be honest with you, I had that kind of set up already, and then, but I think I kind of like lagged on like the final confirmation. And as soon as I saw yours, I went back to Tatiana, like, hey, just want to make sure I have my spot. So, oh yeah, you got your spot. So I was pretty happy about that.
Well, it was funny. I don't remember if you were on the stream, but when she was showing it off on the stream on Bill's show.
Yeah, well,
and then Bill saw it. Apparently, he had just ordered one like right before the show, and he saw mine. Was like, "Can I upgrade to color?"
Yeah. Wait. So how does color work? I forgot. I didn't hear that part.
So initially, and when Tatiana came on Bill's show to initially announce Nier's or everybody's commissions for her folks, and she was talking about Nier's. For his, it was whatever size you wanted, and he would do it in black and white, and then for an extra charge. He would do color, and I asked, like, well, what is that? Like, because it said the colors were digital. So I was like, well, do you just get like a JPEG, or is there like a print, or what? So she went back and talked to Nier, and she said that for an additional charge, so there's the base charge plus a charge for color, and then plus an additional charge on top of that, which wasn't much. He would do a 1-of-1 limited edition color G-Clay print to go with it. So that's what I'm getting. So I'm going to have the original black and white art and the color print to go with it.
How big is the color print?
I'm not 100% sure. I don't think she ever said.
Card art size.
that would be fine, but I'm hoping maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it'll be an 11 by 17. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because that's how big the original art is. So we'll see.
It's funny. I've actually been thinking about this a lot too during this trip. I don't know if you guys remember, but like Tom McDonald, he's really big on like color commissions.
Yep.
And often when I organize my portfolios, do you ever get this where you're flipping through your portfolio and like you have one piece of something and then the piece on the other end, I think about what's next to it, and sometimes it doesn't really fit the theme, right? So I rather skip the page than to go. Or sometimes I'll be like, oh, I need one more page of this to make it work so that it's in the same book or whatnot. And I thought about my portfolio, I was like, man, it'd be kind of cool to get like color commissions of stuff that the pieces I love.
Mhm.
And then it gives me a little bit more to do at the conventions without, spending more money.
Right.
And, well, it's spending money, but it's a little bit more economical to just like get color commissions.
Yeah.
And so now my portfolios would be cool because it'll be like the color, the original art, the color, the original art. That's kind of like something I've been thinking a lot about because recently I actually got some Mylars and backing boards, and
Okay.
I tried basically making my whole portfolio that, and it's just a big chunk of a portfolio. It's like not sustainable. So I think I'm going to move into this idea of like color commissions so that I could start, just making the portfolios a little bit more,
Make them pop a little more.
pop a little more. So it'll be kind of fun to flip through it. But
Well, yeah, I've always been a fan of color. It's just, sometimes it can be a little bit more expensive, especially like if it's like a painted piece. But I mean, man, like look at the one right above your head there. Like that's, stuff like that is gorgeous, and colors are just, they can really make it like, I don't know, like looking at the black and white versus the color of that one I got from Near, like the black and white is really good, but the color just blew me away,
Yeah. And speaking of commissions, I mean, I know, well, I want to hear about your whole list of commissions, but SCG, did you get any commissions?
Yeah, I've got Bob Layton done one for me.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's super quick, and so he's already done one. I did get one from let's see, is it Joe Weems?
Okay.
And so haven't seen anything on that yet, but those are the only two I've pulled a trigger on. So,
And for Joe Weems, what did you get? Did you get Darkness, or do you get like
Pit?
Darkness?
No, Pit.
Pit. Oh, okay. Pit. Oh, okay. Did you work on that?
Yeah, he did some inking on that later runs of Pit. Yeah.
Okay. And then well, I know you had a big list of commissions, right?
I've got 6 that I'm getting.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Look, every time I turn around, I'm seeing, it's funny when you see a post before you even read it, at least this way I do. I see a post and I go, oh man, so-and-so needs to see this. And so I see a Stingray post and I go to send it to you, and it's already you, so.
Yep.
So yeah, you've been racking up on the commissions.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny. Like even Kazra saw the one that Aranga did the other day, and he asked me in the chat the other night. He's like, was that yours?" I'm like, "Who else is getting Stingray?" Like, so yeah, I've got the Near. Got one from Aranga, which he already completed. I got Bob Layton to do one for me. He did a cover recreation of Iron Man 226, which is the one where Tony is going after Stingray.
It's great.
And Bob inked that original cover back in the 80s. So I figured, like, who better to do a recreation, right? I've got one on the way from Wayshack.
Oh, Wayshack's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
I have no idea what it's going to look like, but it's going to be great.
I did tentacles of that guy, just all these tentacles.
You know what? I'm okay with that. I'm finally going to be joining the Mannix Mania Club.
Nice.
And then the last one is the big one, at least price wise, but I'm kind of excited. I'm going to be getting one from Simone DeMio.
Oh yeah, I think that one's gonna be epic.
Did you see the Venom commission that he did?
Oh my god, that thing's crazy.
So good. Yeah. So I'm really
excited. The one that transitioned from Spider-Man to Venom to Spider-Man. That one.
Well, there was that one, which I think that one was like twice as big. Yes. There was the black and white one, but there's another one that's primarily Venom, and he's got like a grid of webbing in front of him. But
that's another one.
Yeah. That one was really cool too. Yeah. Like showing different moments from Venom's history, like as panels in the webbing. I thought that was pretty sick.
Yeah, actually, I did get a post-show one Simone from last year.
Oh yeah,
and it was supposed to pick up in New York Comic Con. It was such a good guy. He messaged me directly, and I was like, "Hey, I apologize. I've just been really trying to think about a composition. I want to do something very different." I think it's very competitive, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
This is what I typically do. I don't know if you guys do this as well, but I typically send whoever I'm commissioning the link to my CAF gallery of the particular prompt, so they get to see what everyone else did. before they do theirs. And what I learned is that actually puts a fire under their butt, because they see these other bigger names that they look up to, or they like, or they aspire to, and then they literally up their game. And so I think with Simone, he's putting a lot of thought into my commission. So hopefully I'll have it by OAX. So I think between for me, so I have 3 pickups. I have Simone, I have a Nier, and then I have another Mannix coming as well. So
how many Mannixes do you have already? I know there's the Triptych.
yeah, Triptych, the Conan, the Unity Zero.
Okay, yeah.
These are all kind of cover recreations,
right?
But the one that I'm doing with him this time is totally different. It's going to be a Doctor Strange, a scene that I love from the first movie.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. So I think it'll be a fun one.
Nice.
Yeah. What else? OAX. Any other major announcements? I feel like I always was in touch with you guys, because during the streams, it's morning in Korea during those 2 weeks. And so I'd be like getting ready in the morning, and then I'd be like watching the stream with everyone. What else? Oh, the announcement of the Magic the Gathering stuff is kind of cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's exciting. That'll be fun. But I don't know, the Secret Lair, I think that's cool and all, but I'm waiting for them to actually do a full set. So like, I'm looking forward to that Spider-Man set that's supposed to come out next year.
Yeah, that's gonna be bananas. And I have a feeling they have an unannounced Universes Beyond set that's following Spider-Man. I think it's gonna be Marvel related. I think it's gonna be something crazy, and I think they're just holding it off for now, so that when the Spider-Man hype, like it's at its height, they're gonna like drop the bomb on, like, dude, imagine if they did like X-Men set. Like
people go crazy for that. Yeah,
crazy for sure. Or Avengers. I mean, that's kind of cool too.
Yeah, those are like the big 2 if you're not going to after the Spider-Man, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and then I could totally imagine like a cosmic set, like the whole Guardians of the Galaxy. I think
that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think so.
Have Galactus fighting the Eldrazi.
That'd be awesome. Well, I finished my Captain America deck, which I could do during the show and tell later too.
Oh, cool.
A little bit of it. But that's we gotta count you in for checking out our little Magic the Gathering activities.
Well, I could check it out, but I'm not. Look, Magic D&D back in the day, like I was like neck deep in, so no, I don't need anything else to take my money. I watch and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I get it. I think.
Well, and so there, Acclaim, Valiant. Did the Magic stuff back in the day. I'm surprised you ain't fished out some pages from that.
No, I didn't know that. What books did they do? Was it like a general Magic
the first Gathering? The first Magic the Gathering books were done by them, and so in comics, and so yeah, I mean they had all kinds of different ones, different miniseries. Some of them came with tokens, some of them came with cards. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, speaking of kind of the old Valiant Acclaim, what was interesting was I came across this account, and I see you liked some of his posts as well. This guy, Ray Chrising.
Oh, yeah.
The inker, he has like so much stuff for sale from like later Valiant Acclaim days. I mean, pricing wise is aspiring pricing, but there's some pretty nice pieces there, I thought
so. I tell you a nicer piece, and I noticed that he's taking it down now. I don't know that he sold it, not at the prices he was asking for, which Brian affirms about the Magic stuff, that they had the whole line from 95 to 96.
Dang, Brian, do you have any of those, or is just they kind of disappeared? Are they hard to get?
The comics are easy enough to get, but I haven't never seen any art on CAF for it. There might be some though. But yeah, going back to Ray, so he had, there's an advertisement for the Turok Exo crossover, which took place in issue 14 and 15. If you haven't noticed, this is Exo Manowar 0 and 1/2 all the way to 20, which I'm assuming we'll be talking about at some point today.
Yeah, the whole setup today. Nice.
So, but yeah, so there's an advertisement that it's a Bart Sears drone, the prelim. He owns the prelim, and there was a turned down unpublished Wizard cover that he owns of Deathmate that Bart penciled, and it has all the Valiant and all the Image folks on it. And I tried to work a deal out that just didn't happen. But yeah, he's pretty aggressive on his pricing.
Yeah, pretty aggressive. So, God bless them. I wish them luck to sell those. And it'd be great for all of us once those pricing becomes the norm.
Yeah, unless you're still buying, and then it's kind of it's a dual-edged sword,
Yeah, exactly. So Brian said their whole line, they're easy comes and newsstands are tough to find them. Oh, interesting. I'll look into it. It's interesting. I did a quick Google search, and they're so old. They're like still using the old Magic logo, so it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's really when it was first taken off.
Cool. I think it's a good time to transition. I mean, we're 20 minutes in, and we got caught up for the holidays. So one of the big reasons of this show's existence, obviously one was SCG and I just having great conversations about Valiant and want to take it online. And second is we want to onboard new readers. And Noel, aka Stingray, has taken an interest in the midst of I think sitting in between us at the Hard Rock Cafe, hearing about our Valiant chat. And so now he's in. I think last month, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, we had an episode of him reviewing Shadow Man. What's up, Kenneth? Kenneth Bird in the building. But we said a month later we were going to have him back to talk about XO Manowar and his whole experience surrounding it. So yeah, I mean, maybe a good way to start is SCG. If you want to kind of give us like a overview and like a background on XO first, and then maybe Noel, you could reflect on what you read.
Well, yeah. So we're talking about VH1 today, XO Manowar. So in talking about that, so the origin story is pretty much the same in the VI stuff, but the ring. So XO or Eric is kidnapped. Him and his Viscos are kidnapped and taken in the alien spaceships. He's able to escape once he finds this armor, this XO armor. He puts the ring on. The XO armor bonds with him. He takes out, only to find out that a lot of time has passed since he's been in that alien ship. So he comes to Earth in at least the 1990s. And he's greeted, well, we'll talk about his friend in a little bit, and a bunch of spider aliens. That's kind of how he's introduced into the Valiant universe. And so he's a major player, major character in the Valiant universe. And you read to what issue? No,
I read all the way through 68.
Oh wow!
Oh, all the way! Wow. Okay.
Okay. So you went all the way through Earthquake and all that stuff, and Bart Sears coming back, and
and I got to the Acclaim stuff.
Oh, you went into that. So that's
at around number 45, 42, somewhere in there, it jumps and you see the Acclaim next to the Valiant logo in the corner. So.
So they reset it to relaunch the series. Of course, the armor's origin's totally different in VH2 than what it was in 1. But yeah,
it's been a while for me, and I don't even think I read up to 68. I think I wrapped up in around like the 30s. So I'm curious, even just to hear from Noel, like what the experience was like seeing these transitions and were they jarring or not. But welcome, number one Marvel fan, to the stream. We will one day make you number one Valiant fan.
Look, a funny story about number one Marvel fan. So I was in another chat and they had an art auction. And so his video was lagging. And so in this art auction, they were auctioning off a picture of a male's part. And so I wasn't bidding on that. Well, they had done got through with that, and they were bidding on this other piece of art. So I was just bidding away, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Like, because he was still on the mail part. He thought I was bidding on that.
Oh man!
Bidding him up, you know.
What kind of auction were you guys attending? That they were selling pieces like that. No judgment here. No judgment here.
Right.
Since today's a casual holiday special, I'm gonna be eating my chocolate because I'm starving this morning.
Do it.
Yeah, don't mind me.
Well, that's okay. I'm gonna get a drink out of my my cup here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at that! Look at that, I'm flexing. Yeah. Today.
Yeah, well,
my show and tell today.
I'm playing catch up to you
my
guys.
I had more coffee than what that would hold.
I just went and put water in it before we got on here, just so I'd have something in there.
Well, that's part one of our show and tell. We all got our mugs now.
That's right.
It's permanently sitting next to my desk.
I'm an official part of the crew.
Nice. Welcome.
Yeah, Brian says it is on fast forward. They kind of explain away how he, the armor teaches him how to understand, English and, several other things that they kind of explain through that. But so, yeah, that's he does encounter, I guess, only one real love interest as a part of that run. Newell more freshly read it than I have. So
are you talking about Randy?
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, that's the only one really.
Through the whole series, I almost felt like he was like.
I mean, so like, there's a couple of chicks that show up here and there that are just like, oh, he's rich and babes dig him kind of thing. Yeah. But he's got like a Bruce Wayne kind of thing going on.
Yeah,
but never like a serious, like relationship kind of thing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Or he did in the past, didn't he? And then she turned on him or something when he went back.
Did she? I don't remember that part.
Yeah, I'm thinking of another story. You read it more fresh than me. So
now in the VEI stuff, he actually gets married. And I will say, kind of spoiler alert for when one day when we get to that. But I feel like the VEI stuff really built him up. It was like more of a continuity with the way his character, progressed, which happens when you have like changing of writers all the time.
Yep.
It's hard because everybody's trying to do their own little thing. I know Ron Mars did the writing on towards the end of that series. I love Mars on Green Lantern and Silver Surfer. I did not like him on XO, but that's just my personal.
Okay. We should definitely have Dinesh come on right when we get to the VEI stuff, like when we start moving into that world. Then have him kind of share some explanation as to like why he took certain things certain direction. And I think that'd be kind of cool to hear behind the scenes of like their thought process.
Well, and especially on the Shadow Man, because they veered so differently than what the OG Shadow Man did.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the new Shadow Man, even though I love Justin Jordan and what he does in his comics work, but for some reason I just wasn't a crazy fan about it.
Yeah,
I like the OG, so we could have a healthy conversation about that.
Yeah.
Brian Wells.
Nice.
I mean, just to jump ahead a little bit, yeah, I kind of felt the same thing with those issues when I got there.
I mean, the art's great. Bart Sears coming back, him and Andy Smith, they're killing it.
I mean, I liked the Bart Sears, but then when Andy Smith was on it, it felt like he was just trying to do a Bart Sears impression.
Well, if you've ever looked at Andy Smith's art outside XO, he does heavily favor, Bart.
Okay.
Yeah. Because he's got his own Kickstarter stuff, Cordrath, which is like a Conan character, and you can really see Bart's influence on him. So.
I love it when Bart draws Conan. Like, he does a really good job. I wish he did a whole run.
Yeah. The other thing that I noticed was as soon as the Acclaim logo started showing up, like they moved to digital coloring, and it felt very jarring to go from, like we talked about last time, that really lush, beautiful hand done coloring and going into the digital stuff. It was very jarring. And I don't know if it was, you know, the scans that I was looking at, but a lot of the art seemed really dark, and I felt like it lowered the quality of the art overall once I got to that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the fate of the 90s, right? You know,
Yeah.
that the coloring just was so horrible at times.
A lot
As
of
they
it.
were
Yeah.
trying to figure out that computerized stuff, because the early Valiant stuff, the way that they did the coloring there, I mean, it just, you know, it was kind of its signature, right? That you
Right.
would
Right.
do Valiant.
Yep.
I mean, kind of what Brian was saying about the toilet reads. I remember fading out Valiant when Acclaim took over because I felt like the general, I guess the general sense was like no one cared anymore. Like I didn't feel like anyone cared at the company. So we'll get there. Noel, why don't we start with your first impression when you kind of read the first 20, 30
Okay.
issues?
Yeah.
Because that's what I remember.
Yeah.
Having that, and then let's talk about how it degraded
Sure.
over time. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, the first issue is number 0, right? And I didn't know until I opened it up, but the art was by Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti, and I was like, oh shit, you know, I love those guys. So, and you know, being early '90s Quesada and Palmiotti, you know, it was I was like, oh hell yeah, and that issue, like between them on the art, the coloring, you know, like we were just saying, was really fantastic. But like the first, I don't know, like 10 or so pages are all silent. There's no words. It's just this alien like ritual or rite or whatever, where it looks like they're digging up a plant out of the ground or something. And then they're very reverently taking it and putting it on a ship, and it's going off to this other place. And then it ends with like, you know, this big spread of like tentacles and you don't know what's going on. And then you turn the page and you're back in, you know, like 1600 years ago or whatever, like reading about the Visigoths and seeing Arik in his childhood, you know. But so that was cool. And then, you know, he gets kidnapped by the spider aliens and he's put in the prison, and he meets the guy named what was it, the map
Map maker, was it?
Map maker, something like that, yeah. Who literally carves a map into Arik's hand out of, you know, makes it in blood, right? Which I thought was kind of fun. And you know, like you're thinking like, okay, he's going to show him a way out, but he does, but not like directly. He shows him where to go to find the armor, and he tells him to look for the ring, and he goes in there and he sees the ring and he puts it on, and the armor just envelops him, and he blows his way out. And then he's out into space and he's shooting down aliens. And then the last panel of that comic was him, you know, burning up on re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. And I was like, holy shit, this was good. Like that hooked me. I was ready to go because it was just a really like fast paced, you know, really, really good first issue. And I was like, yeah. And so then like I read number 1 and I'm like, what the hell? I felt like, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, 0 was done after, you know, years later, and they went back.
Oh, okay. Because you know, I started reading in the I started reading in the omnibus, and they put 0 first.
That's weird.
I mean, continuity wise,
right. Well, yeah, and like so, the first couple pages of number 1 were basically like a summation of what happened at the end of 0. So that makes sense. But so from going from number 0, I felt like the first 5 issues or so, 1 through 5 or about, were really silly. Like he comes to Earth and he runs afoul of I forget their names now. The 2 aliens that were like the CEO or whatever of war. Right. Yeah. And so like they lure him there, they like summon the armor, and so he follows it or whatever, right, to go get it back. And so then they set up this really elaborate trap in that first issue where they redecorate their corporate headquarters to look like the inside of a medieval castle. And they dress up one guy to look like a king so that Arik will come in and talk to him and take him seriously. And then, you know, the guy's like, oh, well, if I just surrender as the king, you know, Arik will think that he's won, and then we'll have him right where we want him. And so he goes to surrender, and Arik beheads him, which was kind of fun.
That's funny.
But so then, like, you know, they think that he's gonna give up, or he thinks that he's won, which is what they wanted. So the female CEO spider alien lady tries to like get close to him and tries to, like use her feminine wiles, to allure him. And he's just like, get out of here. So she goes and leaves and comes back with like a tray with a pitcher of water and some stuff to give him a bath. And he's like, hell yeah, I need a bath after all that killing. And he just takes the armor off and she starts scrubbing him and goes to like stab him. And he's just such a great warrior. He grabs her hand and stops her. And then they fight and her clothes fall off and he sees that she's still got kind of partially a spider body and he's grossed out and then he chucks her out a window.
Yeah, so part of the aliens are genetically altered to look more like humans.
Yep.
And so that's why with clothes on, she looked, aside from her fingers, if you notice the way they were drawn, those were always funny. But and the spaghetti heads, the spider aliens had a very unique look back in the day with all the pudgy bellies. But yeah, and it's one of those things. I think that they were just really trying to find their footing. Like, how can we develop this character? And I think it was probably right up to Unity where they would really kind of, okay, now we kind of know where we want to go with this character and how we can build him.
Yeah. This first few definitely found like they were trying to build things out while they were figuring that stuff out. Because like, I think it was number 2. It started off with Ark sitting on the fake throne that the aliens had set up. And Ken is busy like talking about how like they run the company now because nobody ever knew who the owners were before. And so they're in charge and he's transferring a bunch of money to his personal accounts and whatever and all this stuff. And it's like, I don't think that's how all that works. Like, I feel like that there would be lawyers trying to figure out who's initiating all this, but
that's how business works with a bunch of comic book writers.
Right. Yeah. I had to stop and like, it's comics, just let it go.
Yeah.
But
well, do you guys feel like they were intentional in making it a little quirky and a little comedic, or do you feel like it was almost like a happy accident that it all worked out that way? They were just trying to be like over the top kind of thing.
I definitely think that there was an element of that. There was definitely some jokes like, they had early on, Ark spoke like really broken English. And so they, at one point, Ken had given him like a kid's book to learn how to read and speak English better. I think that was supposed to be funny. I just think that some of it, like, having the aliens set up a medieval castle to trick him was unintentionally just a little silly, a little campy.
Who wrote those?
Steve Englehart wrote the first one.
Okay. Yeah. And then was it Barry that did the art?
He did like one issue.
One issue, right? Number 1, right?
I don't. Yeah, 1, and of course he did the cover of 2 and 3 or no 4.
I have to state here and now publicly that Ixo number 2 is one of my overall grails.
Really?
If I ever get the art for number 2 cover,
yeah.
I'd be so happy.
There's number 2. He's sitting on the throne. There's the woman that he was referring to, trying to seduce him. But
well, real quick, I guess a little turn into the cul-de-sac. From our last month, I think, Noel, you had some questions to like, who the hell was that like lady in Shadow Man that basically seduced him?
Oh yeah.
Did that help
a little bit?
Fill that void a little bit as to like,
yeah, a little bit, yeah. It's weird because like they go to New Orleans in like issue 4, I think, and they go to the club and they see Jack Boniface playing, but they never refer to him as it's before. It's like the night like before he becomes Shadow Man. So they never refer to him by name or anything. You just kind of like, if you read it, if you know, right?
It's so interesting. Would you consider? I know they say that that's his first appearance, but it's weird because if you look at a lot of the Marvel first appearances, that first cameo is rarely considered the first appearance. Even though
Shadow Man?
Yeah, for Shadow Man, like it's literally just Jack Boniface playing on a sax. In a Marvel comic, they would never consider that a first appearance. It's kind of like Hulk 180. Or
I was going to say, a lot of people argue, like for years growing up, 181, right, was Wolverine's first appearance. But there are people that will argue up and down it's 180.
Yeah.
And then you have people that will, caveated, well, it's his first cameo appearance. I'm like, well, pick one, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
exact same thing with New Mutants 85, because Cable shows up at the very end, and it's a half splash, like it's him, but they give him first appearance 86. So it's kind of it's interesting. For this one, has always been historically a first appearance, because I know this because this cover I actually went for it. It would have been like the most I ever paid for something, but then my friend who at the time was like, "Hey, you're gonna go that hard for this one? Why don't you just take my Unity #1 cover?" So I ended up taking it that.
oh
instead.
wow.
And so I think Unity #1's a better choice, right? Than XO4. What do you think?
Yeah. So that's how Dinesh talked you out of it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's how it happened. Yeah. What's happening here? #1 Marvel fan. Many say you're gonna say 180. But I feel they just try to make fetch happen and raise the value.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
Well, so same with Gambit's appearances.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because Gambit's appearances in X-Men Annual 14.
Mm.
Now a little bit different in the X. So the annual accidentally comes out before 266. So you see this guy all throughout there, but you really don't know who he was. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. Because at that point he's already a member of the X-Men. But like with Hulk 180, he comes at the end, says who he is, shows his claws, and it's a stronger, in my opinion. And if you look at some of the early Marvel cards, it says on the back, first appearance, Hulk 180.
Oh, what? Really? Interesting.
So it was only more recently that they changed that stuff, and I think it's just because of the cover. 181's a better cover than 180 is, and it's got Wolverine on it. So, but people, Wolverine collectors, I mean, really, Wolverine's first appearance is in Foom 2, if you ask me. So, I mean, and he had a early appearance. It was at Foom 7, which predated Giant Size X-Men #1. So he had multiple cameos prior to the big ones.
See, yeah, it's weird here. They do key, I guess they call it a key as well. So it's first full appearance of Shadow Man, and then the first cameo experience of Jack Von. Yeah, I think I made the right decision. I think Unity #1 is more important for me.
Yeah,
Shadow Man, Death of Shadow Man. This is a cool cover too. 43.
Oh, look at those.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck is going on here. This Garth Ennis run, right? It says
right.
Wait, Garth Ennis worked on Shadow Man? Oh man.
How were these? Did you guys read these?
I haven't. Yeah.
They're very
different.
Out there. Yeah, very different.
Got it. Okay.
And then, it changes a little bit more with the third and fourth volume where he's more like a hitman. It's
It's so random. This cover is so strange for Shadow Man.
Oh, that's the video game cover.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Interesting. I never played a video game.
Me either, but I saw that when I was looking for it. What's up?
They're re-releasing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Interesting. All right, back to XO. So I want to do a quick XO search.
Hey, I'm still here, but my camera died. Give me 1 sec.
Okay, no worries. No. Was first appearance of XO Man War #1?
Yeah.
It was, right?
Yep.
Let's see. I like Key Collector because it shows you kind of from the collecting perspective.
I'm changing the battery on my camera real quick. I can keep talking though.
Sure, no problem. Keep talking. Yeah, well, we're just doing some research as to
no worries.
What the heck happened with XO. So 68 was the last one, right?
Right.
Dang it. Did you read up to this too, SCG?
Yeah.
You did. Okay.
I've got a 9/8 copy of that last issue, and then #1 I've already got signed by Shooter and Englehart, so I'm getting Bob Layton to sign it when I see him at OAX.
I have my stack of Valiant comics here too. Let me grab it real quick. Noel's doing his thing. Yeah, I have a small stack of my EXO stuff. It's funny. I love my Valiant stuff so much that they were always I like Mylar everything all the time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So number one, number two. Well, I have three number ones. I don't know why I have a 9.4. I think I sent that in for grading.
Oh wow, look at you.
And then I have my number two, which is my favorite cover of all time in
Right.
the verse. And then I don't know where number three is, but I have two number fours as well. I'm guessing, man. I guess I was like in the speculating or something. I either like because I think I always did like one for reading and one for holding, and then this cover is actually I think one of the most memorable.
So I know who owns that cover.
I
Oh,
know too. Dinesh too. I see it in person.
It's not Dinesh.
He has it. He owns it.
Does he?
He does. I've seen it. I've seen it
Okay.
from
Well, I guess Steven sold it then. So
who's Steven? Steven.
he's off of that. A lot of the he actually Steve owns this cover too. The XO10.
Can you pull it up closer, SCG?
The 10.
Yeah.
10 is the one where he comes
Oh,
back.
Yeah. That's a great cover.
The pass.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know he owned that one.
Oh, so my three copies of number one is nothing because Mr. Brian Wells was saying he has a good number, but it's over 10.
Well, I don't. XO 1 is not one of my guilty pleasure books. Turok 1 is, which I have over 200 plus copies of.
oh my gosh.
You and West Coast Avengers.
Yeah, so I do have an XO
what's
Man of
that?
War foreign version.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is an Italian version right here.
Hold on, let me highlight your screen real quick.
So I've got English to sign this. So I'm gonna get
Boom.
Leighton to sign this one also.
Can I see the corner box? The corner box of the issue? Because that's kind of what.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's so cool. Where is that from exactly?
This is Italy.
Oh, Italy. Okay. And then what do they call it? Ixo what on the bottom? What's the title?
Il Guerriero. Is that right?
I wonder how that translates.
Let's see.
So good. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna. I spoke to Dave at West Coast Avengers already. He's gonna join us in December.
Okay,
So-
cool.
Oh, nice.
So maybe I'll ping and see if he could do next week or the week after when he gets back from Japan. But I want you guys to share why you guys love so many Turok number ones. He has over 100, right? Yeah, you have 200. He has over 100. I'm like, damn, you guys.
Wow.
He's a slacker. Well, so any of the Chromium books, so Shadow Man 0, XO 0, I have a bunch of copies of, and generally you can find them in dollar bins or and I usually rescue them from there.
Is that why you see him at dollar bins and you just grab them, kind of thing?
Yeah, it kind of started that. It started being that way, and then it became like a talking point, a conversational piece, and so then like
People asking why.
Yeah. I know you're back. So let's talk about XO. So okay, we showed off number 4. He went to New Orleans and then
And that was the first time you met Harada
as well, right?
Yeah.
And then let's continue from there. What happens in number 5? The cover is very memorable. I forgot what happens in the story.
So that's the one where he meets this guy Axe who tries to steal the armor from him. And I felt like I was missing a little bit because apparently he was like a disgruntled harbinger, I guess, who worked for Harada. And then he found out about the armor and he went after it, kind of made his own, but he wanted to steal the XO because it was better.
So Axe is one of the Harbingers, and so if you read Harbinger, he gets he gets his male manhood burn off in Harbinger.
I remember that.
And so if you also read Rise Zero, Axe is the one that kills Bloodshot in the thing and takes the blood of heroes.
Wait, so I gotta reread Harbinger because I always remember Axe being like a very prominent bad guy, but he was a good guy before.
Yeah, he was one of those kids. You know, they were trying to bring him in with the Renegades and stuff, and then he's like, "Nah, I'm going to do my own thing." And then Flamingo, you know, lit his thing on fire. So
yeah. So like, there was a couple times during XO when I felt like I wasn't following what was going on because they would refer to stuff that happened in Harbinger and once they got into the Armorines, like Armorine Zero was in the omnibus that I was reading. So I read that issue, but nothing after that. And there was, at some point, there was a story where they did a crossover with XO and the Armorines. Like, oh, this is continuing Armorines number whatever. And I was like, oh, well. So, but yeah, so 5 was fun. And then like 6, I think, was the first issue after 0 that I was really like, yeah, this is what I want. Like, because, you know, Carl, after I read Shadow Man, I asked you like which one I should read next. You were like, go with XO because it's really popular. People like it. After reading like number 6, I was like, okay, yeah, this is why people like this book. It was him just beating the piss out of Axe. They were fighting underwater in a ship. Like there's a part where, you know, they're underwater and he just like cuts Axe's armor open and it starts taking in water. And then, you know, Axe he manages to like freeze the XO armor in place. And Ark's like, okay, I don't need armor to beat your ass. And he like peels it off of him and just goes wails on Axe.
I remember that. That was so good.
And like at the beginning of that issue, they have like the aerial battle and he's fighting like F-15s and stuff.
Sick.
It was crazy. And it was a lot of fun and it was action and the art was great. And I was just like, okay, I see why this was popular, right? So then, of course, I'm all into it now. And then the next issue is when they crossed over into Unity.
And you're back to where am I at now?
Right. And that one was really interesting because you know, he's like at the beginning of that, like he teams up the Harbinger kids show up and they're like, hey, Solar needs your help in the distant future. And he's like, sure. He just goes with him. And it's like, because when he met them the first time, like he fought with them and they kind of ran away. And so now they just show up and they're like, well, we need your help. And he's just like, okay, cool, let's do it. And so then they all go to
the Geomancer had something to do with that. He did some convincing as well. Did he talk to the armor or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they show up in the future and Solar's there and Bloodshot is there briefly. And then Ark ends up just having fun fighting dinosaurs. I love the Bionosaurs with the chips in their head and everything. They were fun.
Yeah.
So that's Rye, not Bloodshot.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. So which Rye was copied. You'll find out if you read those. You find out that Rye is technically a copy of Bloodshot, but Bloodshot, as far as in continuity, didn't come along until later. But yeah, the Bionosaurs like Monarch and them, you know, become the big bad against Turok in the early pages of, you know, Turok. So
yeah, what a great setup, right? Unity kind of sets everything up to break off into its own world, and
really, if you think about and spoiler alert as far as the Harbinger baby that's born and who that becomes, but you know the that's how it's supposed to be, right? Especially like a fledgling universe like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've started all these titles, you've seen Solar and Magnus, you know, pop up here and there, and then all of a sudden you bring them all together, and then you're like, okay, now go make more, and they're like, okay, yeah, all right, I can see this. That's how you're supposed to do a crossover, right?
Yeah,
where people are like, okay, I'm not tired of this crossover, you know, I want more.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of multiverse. I like the way they did it by using time, which makes sense, help it make sense. And then Avengers, I think, stole from that for sure, like going back in time and changing whatever, and then it splits off in the universe. But I felt like with Valiant, the way they did it, you know, even though they said time is not absolute, well, time is not absolute, but the time period is. So it's kind of like when you go back to this period, you're gonna see this version of this character, and in the future, there's this other version of this character. But you know, you're not gonna be able to shift that. So I thought that was always kind of cool in the way they designed the universe.
For sure.
Yeah. So Unity was cool. I thought it was funny because Mother God at one point tricks him to take his armor off again. He fell for that a lot, it seemed like, early on.
What a sucker.
Yeah, he was thinking of his other head. That's the problem.
That's right.
I don't blame him, by the way. As a kid, I was like, that was like the first MILF light bulb
Yeah, and you know, we talked about this early on, but that, you know, Valiant had a lot of those moments like that, and we're like, wow, this is kind of risque here. You know, I like this.
But yeah, and then he gets bitten in half by one of the Bionosaurs, and the armor had to heal him, so that was cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
And then coming out of Unity, he goes into the next issue, which is number 9, and he falls out of a portal and he ends up back in his original time. And that issue was another one that I thought was really good because there's the parts where they kidnap Deidre, was it his wife or just his girlfriend? I can't remember now, but the one from his time.
I don't think they were married. I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, I
his love. Yeah, it's like his puppy love kind of thing.
But yeah, so like, you know, he goes to help his uncle fight the Romans and everything. And there was even a page from this book that I sent to Carl when I read it. You remember that one, Carl? Yeah. He's on the horse. Yeah. And I was like, if I could own a page from this book, I think this might be it thus far. Like, so he's on horseback shooting Romans, and there's one where he's in silhouette. You just see like the black shapes of him on the horse and everything, but you see the green lasers coming out. And then the last panel is him on horseback yelling to his uncle and the troops, and all these dead Romans on the ground around him. I was like, that's fantastic. That was really good.
That was a great
and then
page. That page for you.
Yeah. And then, you know, later in that book, the Visigoths get scared of him because he's too powerful, right? They think that he's going to betray them or whatever. And so they end up working with the Romans, and they like kidnap his girlfriend or whatever, and they hide her in this temple. And then as he goes to get to the temple to save her, there's booby traps all along the way, right? So they try to like dump boiling oil on him. They try to push a rock slide on him. They do the thing with the logs that come together to try to smash him. Mm-hmm. And they hit him, and he just goes, blah. It's like, yeah, you can't hurt me. And he gets to the temple, and they turn on him, and he's just like shooting people and like doesn't give a shit, you know. And he ends up pulling down the whole temple, and she dies in the building collapsing and everything.
Yeah, he massacres everyone, right? Pretty much.
Yep. But then when he realizes that she's dead, he's just like, no. Yeah. And at the end of it, he buries himself in the ground and doesn't come out until 1992.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that, you know, because the whole time he's in 1992 prior to Unity, he's just like, I want to go home. You know, like this time is different. Yeah. So Unity gives him his wish. He goes back home. But, you know, it's kind of like with us, you know, we're always itching to go back to the past and relive things through nostalgia. But the reality is, you know, we've kind of advanced past that, right? Like, you know, our life experiences now would not fit in the life we used to lead. And so that was kind of with him. You know, I've done advanced past this. I just want to really go to my new home, which was 1992 at that time.
Right. I just thought that was an interesting way to get him back there, though, right? He couldn't just like have the armor whip up a portal or something or figure out how to do it. He was just like, I'm just going to bury myself and sleep it off until 1992.
and that's what I love about Valiant. I think the creative force that was there, they were so damn creative. Like, who would have thought of like, let's bury this guy until he's ready to be, you know, uncovered, like, you know, thousands of years later. Yeah. And I thought that was like such a smart way of like time traveling without, you know, being lazy, I guess, you know. It took years to really kind of become who he, you know, rediscovered again. And when they found him again, I remember like all the roots were growing through him.
Yeah. Well, like this cover, that cover there, that's a great one. The hand coming out.
Great cover. Yeah. Who woke him up? Did someone wake him up? I forgot.
I think Ken went and dug him up because they like detected him or something. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, he's looking for him, and they found like Ken's hand. It could detect the armor.
Oh, his hand.
Because it's part of the armor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
so
armor
when
made it
he
for
got
him.
his arm cut off,
Yeah.
he gave him that as a way to keep up with Ken and keep him honest.
Because he didn't trust him. Yeah.
That's right.
Let's talk about Ken, man. What's your feelings surrounding Ken, Noah?
I
He's
thought
a
Ken
character.
was an interesting character because he was kind of wormy, right? Like he was always betraying him. He's always out for his own interests.
Yeah.
But he tried to be a good guy sometimes too. But every time he did that, he'd turn around and do something stupid, and you're like, God damn it, Ken.
Yeah. He's so human. I felt like he was such a great character. And I think he was, like, for me at least, in comics, probably one of my earliest exposure to kind of like a gay man in comics in that way. And it was very blatant, but not in your face, you know. It was just who he is, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought they did it so good visually. Like, he's wearing like Speedos at the pool, and just the way he behaves, you know. He's like a little flamboyant. So they did a really good job of painting, developing Ken's character. And even I think SCG, you have a very prominent page of a moment for Ken as well. And I think, was it Hoarder's Hide? Someone bought a
Hoarder's Hide has that page where the pool and Ken's running.
The pool.
You know,
that was such a good page. And so,
I don't know if that says anything about Scott or not, but you know, he liked that page. That was the day I bought my Turok 2 page, so I didn't have the funds to compete with Scott on such a page with Ken. But no, to your point, I mean, you think about when that was brought out. Nowadays, you don't think nothing about it. But like in 1992, that was kind of risque too, that they would even make a character that way. But they stated it, kind of said what it was, and then they went about their business. Like, the character in my mind was not defined by what he did when nobody was looking, right? Yeah. Which is how things should be. You know, you're just like, okay, define about the fact that, like you said, Noel, that he was, you know, untrustworthy at times. Then he would try to do good. That's what you should define the character by. And then that's kind of how they built him out.
And that's what stood out for me was, you know, like, you never know when he's gonna, like, because, like, or even early on, you know, he was very quietly trying to like reallocate the funds from Orb into his own bank account or whatever, and he would have to catch himself like, I'm doing this for us. I'm doing this for us. We're gonna be rich. We're gonna rule the world or whatever, right? And you know, Ark was just like, whatever, do your business magic. I don't care. That's not for me. I'm a warrior.
No, it's true. I think that it also says a lot about Eric. He's always been very confident. Like, I think it's not like he didn't know. And as an audience member, I felt like the Valiant team did such a good job of like getting us in the know. So we're almost concerned for Eric. We're kind of like, holy shit, this guy Ken's gonna turn you anytime. Why are you keeping him around? But at the same time, we respect Eric a lot because we're like, dude, this guy don't give a shit. Like,
right, but at the same time, he's basically like, he gave him the hand. You know, he consulted the armor and said, what do I do about Ken? I can't trust him. And the armor's like, here, he can have a new hand. But now we always know where he's at and what he's doing.
Great, yeah.
Well, and there was a point to where Ken was kind of getting fresh with Ark, you know, very early on. And he's like, "Whoa, dude, you barking up the wrong tree." And then after that, there wasn't that much of that no more. Once they kind of did that,
right?
So funny. All right, continue. So we had Ken dug him up. So I think at this point, from what I remember, like, he gets a little bit more sophisticated now too, right? And he has kind of like,
so I think it was the issue right before Unity was the first one where he started talking normal, like he had figured out how to speak English and everything. I forget exactly which issue it is, but somewhere in there, and it might have been that one right before Unity. It was another scene that I thought was really funny. Like, they're in the Orb headquarters, and there's like an open window to a conference room where the armor is just chilling off in a corner by itself, you know, just whatever, because he's off doing, you know, businessy things. And Solar pops in. He's like, "Oh, I saw the window was open." And he just pops in the room and starts having a conversation with the armor. and getting caught up on what's been happening. And then Ark like overhears something going on, so he pops in and there goes, "Oh, invaders!" And he's like, "Who the hell are you?" And you know, Solar's just like, "Hey, I'm Solar, but I gotta go. Bye." And he just bounces out the window. And so Ark puts on the armor, is like, "He touched my armor!" And he goes after him. He's like, "Come back, wizard!" And he ends up chasing him. And so like Solar gets away. And he goes down, he sees the forest that is Central Park, right? And he's like, "Oh, this reminds me of home." So he goes down to the park, takes off the armor again, leaves it there so he can go like walk around in nature. And he gets jumped by like a gang of like 10 dudes and he beats them all up. And then he's satisfied, he feels better. And then he goes and gets in the armor and goes back to the office. I was just like, okay, that's all right. But I just thought the way that Solar popped in was like, had a conversation with the armor, was like, "Hey, we'll be friends and stuff, but I gotta go." And he just jumped out the window again.
That's true. We kind of just like, I remember that, and I felt like because I've already read the other comics of Solo and I kind of just accepted it. But
right. So like this was like my, you know, the Solar was in a little bit of the Unity issues and a little bit of the ones for Shadow Man, but outside of that, I haven't really had a whole lot of exposure to Solar at this point, right? And of course, he comes back later in Exo, but we'll get there shortly.
Well, and talking about Solar, so you know, Solar, Magnus, and Turok are
They're all the
key characters,
yep.
right? So, like, if you're reading in 1992, they're the three that most people know anything about.
Sure.
You know? And so that was kind of their way to build out that universe. Is so him popping up, they're like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy."
Okay.
But, you know, so they have kind of a different perspective, and of course, Solar and the friendship that they established when the first armor dies, you know, Solar helps him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really cool. But so yeah, after that and after Unity and everything, it's a lot of like him hunting down the spider aliens and trying to clean them out, you know. And then there's eventually there's the part where he goes to the moon. He finds out there's a moon base full of the spider aliens and he takes them out. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of like corporate stuff. You know, there's the part where Randy comes in to be the head of security, and she's hates him because he's always running off. And she's like, "You're you're you know higher up. You know, you need to be protected." Whatever. He's like, "I could take care of myself." She's like, "Yeah, well, I'm your head of security. You should listen to me." And he's like, "Whatever."
Is Randy the girl that wears armor later? She does, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, like there was a lot of. Oh, that's right. Solar fights with him on the moon too. I forgot about that. Yeah. So they clean out the moon base. They free some slaves and stuff like that. Oh, and then he meets Turok. That's right. There's the couple of Bart Sears issues where he meets Turok the first time.
Those are very iconic ones. Those are like some of folks' favorites.
Yeah. Well, and so I like the friendship that the two of them form because they're both like the man at a time thing. So they kind of just get each other, and they're both warriors. So though it's like, oh, I have somebody that I could talk to that gets what my situation is. So that was kind of cool. And you know, yeah, like just flipping through it real quick, like some of these pages, like, yeah, it was pretty crazy. And that's the story where they go down into the sewers in New York to hunt down some of the spider aliens that are left down there. Cool. No, I'm sorry, it's dinosaurs. It was the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yep. And you know, it's funny because one of the things I thought was fun about this book, I never thought about it till I started reading. These weren't they didn't do the comics code, and so some of these got kind of bloody. They could get kind of gory.
I actually love Valiant for that because it wasn't just like visually bloody, like even you know the provocative stuff that we talked about earlier. You know, that stuff made me tingle, you know, like just as a kid, you know, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Because, you know, there's like, you know, obviously in the 90s, there was like the Psylocks of the world that visually made me tingle. But like, I felt like psychologically and like culturally, when I read Valiant stuff, I was like, whoa, like I'm learning some stuff like about being an adult that I didn't know. And so I think that's what was most attractive to me as well. And it felt real. So.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was appropriate because he's, you know, a barbarian basically. And when he gets mad and just starts going after people, there's going to be blood. And I didn't feel like it was over the top at any point, but they didn't shy away from it either.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. He meets Randy. She becomes security. And then they meet her friend, Paul, the guy with the eye patch. And they get into the whole thing with like the Wolf Bridge stuff, and then he has to go to Antarctica and deal with the stuff going on there. And it's just like they're always finding new threats for him, new ways for him to get in trouble. And he's up in Antarctica with Randy, and she saves her life, and so that's when she starts to like him, I think. And there was just a lot of stuff. And then like not long after that is what you're referring to, Carl, is when she gets the armor, which I was not expecting. I didn't see that coming. I thought that was a cool little storyline.
Yeah, that was a cool storyline. And then what happened? Like, was it at the moon or was this later? I remember the armor has a seed, and there's a whole ritual. Was that later?
Yeah, that was a little later.
After the moon,
That was later. Way later. Okay.
Yeah. Because so Randy has the suit for a while, and while she has it, Art goes down to like South America and runs across to these guys that work for a company that turns out to be like a subsidiary of Orb, and he gets all pissed off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's like a straight up Iron Man #1, where it's like he discovers that they're the ones that his company's company was in charge of the stuff happening in the third world country. And
right.
So I swear, dude, all the folks at Marvel Studios, they read Valiant comics.
Well, the other thing with so the suit dies, and then the seed from another Exo armor, which Solar had fought in previous issues and left dead, is brought, and then so the new Exo seed has to be birthed by somebody dying. Which, because of the fight with the spider aliens and getting mortally wounded, Paul says he'll take one for the team. And so after that, so right for a little while, Paul's consciousness was in the Exo armor.
It wasn't Ken, it was Paul. Okay, I got mixed up. It was Paul who gave his life, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so that's so Paul's. That's why the Exo armor kind of gravitated towards Randy, because her and Paul were friends or whatever. So, and then that kind of went away, and you don't hear nothing else about him having his own consciousness. In VH1, the armor's not like it's not like Iron Man's armor where it's like talking back and forth to you. It wasn't till later on that they established that it would talk back to him and it had its own personality. Except for that
that whole storyline was kind of weird. Like I thought that the drama aspect of it, like they found out that the spider aliens had a base and a bunch of tunnels, and there was some that went under Ark's house. And that's when Paul and Randy were there, and they were helping him fight them, and Paul gets injured. And then like you were talking about, Solar, that was a cool bit too. He flies out to, I think, Saturn or something, where he'd killed one of the previous Exos, and the armor was still there. And he's thinking, well, maybe I can go grab the armor. But when he gets there, it's got a seed on the chest. And so he takes that, because the only way that they would be able to use the armor is if they had the ring for it. And apparently the ring was buried or something. So he sees the seed and he grabs that and takes it back and says, well, we can grow you a new armor. And that's when Paul is like, well, I'm probably going to die anyway, so I may as well die doing something good.
Why did Paul think he was going to die?
He got severely injured while they were fighting the aliens. Yeah.
He got bit, and so the spider alien poison was going through.
Yeah. So, I thought that was really cool. And like around, I think it was issue number 30 is where the omnibus ended. So I kind of stopped there until you pointed out that other place, Jason. And he had just gotten the new armor back. I was like, oh wow, like it was getting really good. It was very dramatic, and I thought that was really cool. And then after he gets the new armor, they go into a whole story where like Randy and Paul and her husband, who's been dead for a while now, and some other people, they all used to work for like the French Canadian, or for the Canadian government. They were all spies and stuff, right? And so like they were part of this Wolf Bridge group. And somebody from those times came back and started killing the members of the Wolf Bridge group. And so she's off having like spy adventures, and while Ark is doing other things, and then he gets kind of caught up into it because he's trying to save her and stuff. And that was an interesting little side story, I thought. But it was kind of weird because there was like the twin German killers, you know, and all this stuff. And it turned out to be the daughter of the guy that they had killed in Afghanistan like 15 or 20 years ago and all this stuff. So it got kind of weird. I mean, it was still good. It was fun. And then around issue, like, I think it was 42 or 43 is when it rolled over to the Acclaim stuff. And that's when it got really strange because they introduced the character Crescendo, and she kidnapped Arik and had him hooked up to some machines to make him think he was back in his old times with Deidre and all of his friends and whatever. And they were imprisoned by the Romans and all this stuff. And she was basically just doing it as like a form of torture. And when he finally broke out of it and he found out that Ken was almost dead, he'd been tortured near death. Randy was dead. And so, you know, they have this big fight and you're like, well, who is this lady? Why is she doing this to him? And she's like, the Visigoths killed my whole village or something when I was young. And I've lived this whole time, you know, for thousands of years through magic or something. And then I heard tell that there was a Visigoth in today's world. And so I decided he needed to die for what his people did to mine. I'm like, okay. Like, I just thought that was kind of not great for, you know, motivation for a villain, but okay. And then Ark ends up killing her. And it's just like, oh, okay, that was cool. Not a big deal. But like he gets so angry. Well, so she took over Orb while he was in prison and like sold off everything. So Orb was basically didn't exist anymore, right, on paper. And so Art gets so mad he just like blows up the building. He goes back home and he like blows up his house. And then he's just like all sad and depressed because his friends died. He should have been able to save them and all this stuff. And now he has nothing and he doesn't even have his home because he blew it up because of his feelings. And like there's at one point Turok shows up and he's like, I heard about what happened to Orb. I came as soon as I could. And Ark's like, I'm not in the mood. You need to go. And Turok's like, bro, I'm your bro. What are you talking about? He's like, I don't care, bro. Get the fuck out. And they end up like having like a really quick little fight. And then Turok's like, you know what? And he leaves, you know? And I'm just like, what?
So they're not friends anymore.
Right. Yeah, they're not friends anymore.
It didn't make any sense.
It didn't. No, it didn't. The only thing I could figure is that somebody higher up in Acclaim was like, we need to reset things. We need to go back to zero and just start over.
Who was the creative team behind all this at the time? You remember?
Ron Mars was the writer.
He was writing it, and then they were rotating a lot between Bart Sears and Andy Smith on the art. Bob Layton wrote at least one of the issues during that time. It bounced around a lot. There's a lot of different names in there. Yeah, so it was just really weird. And then, you know, he ends up moving to like a homeless camp and being friends with the homeless people. And like at one point, Paul's consciousness, like it had talked to him for a while, and then it got kind of subverted and it became more part of the armor and it went away, and he just assumed that Paul died a second time, more or less. But then it came back, and Paul decided he wanted to be separate again. He wanted to be his own person, and he basically forced the armor to release Arik, and then like was like, no, and he basically formed the armor into like a full body, and he looked like a golden and blue version of Paul with the eye patch and everything.
Right? What issue is this now? Because I don't have any recollection of this.
It's in the 40s or 50s.
40-ish issues.
Yeah. And then it gets really weird because so the Paul armor, Exo still has the ring, right? So he's just like, I can still control this. And he basically like he pulls the armor apart, and you're left with this like glowy bubble that's Paul's consciousness. And then it fades out, and he's like, haha, I killed Paul again. And I've got the armor back. But then Paul's consciousness goes and finds the what's left of Shanhara, his original Exo armor, and takes that and becomes a Exo Paul hybrid thing again. And he looks like this big bulky robot that's all fucked up now because it's a dead Exo armor. And he goes after Arik again, and they end up fighting Exo on Exo. And it was wild.
And then wild.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
remember reading any of these, and so I'm kind of
dude.
glad I didn't.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
And then the ending and Jason, maybe you can talk about it a little bit more. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and this is Andy Smith, right? You're right. Andy Smith definitely looks like he's trying really hard to be Bart Sears.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
But you know, they end up introducing a bunch of new characters, and like Crescendo comes back. Oh, and then Master Dark shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Carl,
Oh,
he
wow.
has to fight Master Dark, and at one point, Master Dark steals the Exo armor and is wearing it.
What the hell? What issue is it? I want to see what he looks like.
It's like the late 50s, like right around where you're at now. I can't remember exactly which one it was.
Let's see. Can we find Master?
But yeah, he steals the armor, and so in order to get it back, yeah, I think that might be one of them. Oh no, that's like a couple after it, maybe. They're all kind of jumbled.
Yeah, 63. He's in 63.
63.
Yeah.
Yeah, that green face that you saw real quick there, that was Crescendo.
Okay. I've never even heard of Crescendo, so here
you
it
go.
is.
There you go.
Ah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, so it's really weird because I don't know. I'll tell you because to save you from having to read it, right?
Yeah.
Master Dark gets the armor, and so Art goes after it. He's like, I don't need the armor. I'm a warrior. I can handle this on my own. He sneaks into Master Dark's mansion and slits his throat while he's asleep.
Wait, he kills Master Dark?
Yep. Well, I mean, it seems that way, yes.
Yeah.
But then the armor is corrupted by the necromantic energies.
Yeah.
And he tries to save it. And then by the end of the series, the very last issue is really weird because he meets some dude and he goes back to his own time and he like jumps around at different points in his life. And the ending of issue 68 is he is a prisoner in the spider alien thing again, like right before he's about to get the armor.
Wow.
And it says the end ?
Interesting.
And which it kind of does because when they relaunch it again, the armor, the bearer of the armor, it's all totally different, right? This, Sean Chin was, drawing Exo Volume 2, and it's weird.
Okay, so let's fast forward to the end. Like, how does this whole thing end? How do they wrap it up?
Like I said, the very last scene of this, he ends up back in the spider alien camp. Yeah, that was the end. So in this issue, he jumps through different points in his life. He starts off back in like 408 AD. He jumps around a little bit. That guy there with the fez hat is he keeps talking about the prophecy or whatever, and he's like his guide through all this. But then at the end of the issue, he's back in the spider thing right before he gets the armor. And it's like, are you going to do things differently this time or what?
Interesting. Well, and why was he traveling through time like this? Because of this guy or what?
Yeah. It was really bizarre, man. I don't know.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to let this ruin my
So you recognize that page right there. So.
Oh, yeah. They bring it back. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. It was one of those things for me. Like, okay, let's just stomach through it just to say that we've read through everything because it's getting really bizarre out there.
Yep.
So what was it like for you as you read through the first time? Like SCG, when you in your memories, were you just buying the physicals every week kind of thing? And
so back in the day when the comic shop that's not far from me was carrying all this Valiant, and it got to where it was a little more affordable because if you think about the days of Wizard and the early issues were unattainable, but with the later more mass-produced stuff, I left off on Exo probably around issue 40.
Okay.
So when I went back and got all the floppies again, I just started back at 1 and read through the whole thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing though is once after like issue 30 something and they kind of reset, like there wasn't much I missed.
Yeah, somewhere in the early 40s when it switches over to Acclaim, it just kind of fell off dramatically.
God, that's unfortunate. It's kind of sad and also a little tough for the most part because you can name any title. Amazing Spider-Man, Batman, like they've had bad runs, right? Like they've all had bad runs where the company's going through whatever they're going through, and things just went to crap. Eventually they made a comeback, and it wasn't maybe through a reset, they just kept it going. But yeah, it sounded like that's kind of what happened with Volume 1, where it just really faded away.
Well, yeah, and then you're in the middle of the comics implosion of the 1990s, and so you're running out of money. Acclaim buys them. There's just a lot of stuff going on in the background that just led to weird ending and stuff.
So, Acclaim went bankrupt too, right? And they end up kind of selling out, or I don't know what happened to them, but Acclaim's not anymore. But it's pretty funny because most kids wouldn't even know what Acclaim is anymore. As a gaming company, like it's more by Activision and Roblox and all that. But so I mean, Noel, what's your general feeling? Minus the second half of what you read. Man of War.
You told me it was a popular one, and I can see it. It was a lot of fun. I think that the straight Valiant stuff had some ups and downs, but for the most part, I thought it was really fun. It was really entertaining. I thought Ark was a fun character. I liked that he could do, like espionage type stories, but then he could do outer space stuff. He could do the time travel, fighting aliens. Like he kind of was all over the place with that stuff, and it was cool. He had a lot of range. I liked seeing the characters like Turok, Solar, interact with him and stuff like that. It's funny because these are 30-year-old books at this point, and there were still things in there that I was surprised by that I didn't see coming because unfortunately these stories haven't been picked up and made into TV and movies and whatever else down the line. So like when his first exosuit got killed, I was very surprised by that. Like it didn't take long for them to put him in a new one and everything was back to normal, but it was still an interesting and the road to get there, like having Paul is dying, like, oh well, he can just sacrifice him to make the new suit and that kind of thing. Like the whole that storyline where Randy got the armor, like, oh wow, okay, there was a lot, there were surprises and stuff that I didn't see coming, and it made it more interesting, because like with Marvel stuff, I've been reading long enough that I've started to see like the cycles, and I can tell, there's a lot of stuff that I've seen before, so hi Carl. I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I'm enjoying reading this stuff, so
great. No, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'd be sad if you didn't. But CG, I recommended what Noel should read next last time. What are your thoughts? I mean, where do we go from here?
Excuse me. So are we sticking with VH1?
Yeah, I think we should try to cover as much VH1 as possible, as necessary. I think. Number one Marvel fan, you could join along for the ride as well. Whatever we read next.
So Harbinger was a fun series, especially if you're a fan of X-Men.
Yeah,
and like the teen thing. Pretty much, well, about halfway through, they had the big fight with Harada and Sting, so don't want to spoil that for you. But after that, the whole title changes, but it remains like a fairly consistent title even up to the end. It was still fun. Hardcore is a short title, but it was fun.
Well, so I'm definitely interested in Archer and Armstrong. That one sounds interesting.
Okay.
I think Eternal Warrior sounds fun. Horus Hide, A&A, and Eternal Warrior.
Right here, A&A, Eternal Warrior.
So, did you ever watch the Highlander show back in the day?
A little bit. I preferred the movies, but yeah, I watched the show a little bit.
Okay. So, especially in the show, but you got a little bit of this in the movies, you'll get a real strong Highlander vibe in Eternal Warrior.
Okay.
Whereas like he'll have that flashback scene, and then you fast forward to today, and then like somehow the flashback ties into the deal, and it kind of flows just like the Highlander show does.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. So there's that. it's funny. Like I think as much as I would love for you to jump in Archer Armstrong, I would love to talk about it. I think SCG is right that Harbinger should be probably the next read because
Okay.
I think it's almost, as I recall, foundational to setting up a lot of like the
Oh, okay.
between the worlds.
Well, and that makes sense the way that they were interacting with EXO and all that. It seemed like there might have been a lot more going on, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
Harada is one of the big bads of the
Big bad.
universe, and so
Yes.
he's
Oh,
Yeah. And
See,
it
I
kind of
didn't-
sets the tone for the Valiant universe in a way,
Uh-huh.
right? Like I think Harbinger sets the tone, and then it kind of branches off from there. And then it'd be kind of cool for you to see acts as well, in the early acts, I guess. And then I think even for me, I kind of want to reread Harbinger as well as we're talking about all this because, yeah, I think I read it so early on that it's kind of faded into the memory. Like I wouldn't be able to talk about it much.
yeah, and that one looks like there's 41 issues in volume 1. So
yeah. When and like you could actually stop with 25 when they
Oh,
have
really?
the shootout essentially,
Mhm.
and things change. Like the whole dynamic of the Faith takes over the team, and it's like a whole different thing, really.
Yeah, I wasn't into it. As soon as Faith took over, I kind of disappeared.
Yeah, it just had a different vibe to it.
Okay.
And then you find out that not to spoil anything if you read all the way through it, but it was Harada all along type of Agatha all along type of a deal.
Mhm.
But yeah, so yeah, it was a fun read. And you also thinking about the context of when that series came out,
Mhm.
really X-Men was on the rise at that point, right?
Okay.
So having that mutant, the psiots as they call them, it just kind of made sense. And to this day, Harbinger 1 to get in a high grade is one of the harder number ones to get.
Really?
Well, with the coupon too, and
Yeah,
Mm.
higher
and
because
Carl, you're gonna have to get into this soon because
Carl, they're gonna
man is joining in.
Triple X Carl's not gonna let you go, man.
If you're gonna be part of the Carl's Club, you have to
Yeah.
get in.
He's out to convert all the heathens.
What's up, Brian?
What's up, Brian?
But yeah, so but yeah, it's a fun read. So yeah, that would probably be my recommendation.
All
All right.
right. So
Well, I got number 1 pulled up here and ready to go.
perfect. Our year, it's we'll figure it out. But like our end of the year special will have to be Harbinger.
Yeah.
That'd be a good way to close it out. And I always think about Harbinger, and there was this kind of like snowy cover on like issue 4 or something. I always think about that. It's like a
Talking about where Torque dies.
yeah, Torque dies.
spoiler.
Yeah, that was a very significant issue, and I remember that being a bit of a Christmas story. And
So Torque, you find out that Torque, even through his death, because I didn't spoil it now, but that he plays a big part in the whole deal through Unity. So
huge part.
Yeah, because of who his prodigy is, So
Did you see what Carl said, Carl? He's thrown down the gauntlet.
Yeah. It will be both. I think OAX will be a big one. I think. I mean, are we bringing some Valiant art for OAX sharing? Like, should we do that? I think we kind of.
I will have a page by then.
You will, yes. I mean, so Harbinger is our next destination, and speaking of you having a page, I mean, should we move into our show and tell segment?
Go for it.
Sure.
Who wants to go first? I mean, I'll jump in just because Carl's here. I know he has to go soon. I would love to show him, what I finished building recently, and it's my Captain America First Avengers deck. So this will see play, I think, first at OAX. We are going to have a
carotid debut.
Yeah, so this is my deck. It's a 100-card singleton. What's really cool about it is,
we only care about the Captain America.
There you go, Captain America. I like foils, so this one's foil. There's a treasure token that's coming out of the Iron Man secret lair.
Oh, cool!
The treasure token, and then yes, predominantly an artifact deck. So one of the powers that they did really good work with was with Captain America. You could actually throw artifacts. So like they actually have one of the swords they converted into a shield.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting choice to do, but there aren't any really good shields in Magic at this point, I guess. So
not at all. So it's more artifacts. So hopefully they come up with more like conversion. But basically, for you guys who don't know much about MTG, is one of the mechanics of equipment is you can equip the equipment to a creature like Captain America and make him more powerful. But what they did with Captain America that's different that we haven't seen before is you can actually throw the equipment and then damage people with it as well. And so basically it's a 3-color deck. Another thing that's really cool.
What 3 colors is Captain America?
Red, white, and blue.
That's right.
So cool. Yeah. And so they also have a soul ring. That's the
the arc reactor.
Yeah, arc reactor.
That's cool.
And then they have a few other ones that
did that come in the Iron Man one?
That came in the Iron Man one. What's fun is in the recent set there was the Excalibur sword, and this one has like a 12 mana casting cost, so I could throw this and damage people for 12.
Oh, that's cool.
Another cool secret card that came in was a Groot card, which is a reprint of a Masterwork of Ingenuity where you could copy equipment on the field. So they did a lot of cool reprints as well as, let's see. Here's the other one. Arcane Signet is the Avenger Station.
That's cool. The tower, yeah.
Exactly. So anyways, want to preview this deck for you guys that I'll be playing. Tatiana, Noel, and myself with few other comic art collectors are in a email chat group. Happy to say that I was able to connect Tatiana with the folks at Wizards of the Coast. So I think they're going to try to work something out. Hopefully with some more surprises to announce. But that's my little show and tell to kick us off. The other one that I want to show and tell was my cup. I was kind of jealous to see it last time with the fellas. And so I got mine, and Noel got his as well.
That's right. And I made sure that I got a different color from everybody else.
Yes, we coordinated, right? We all had different colors. So this, I saw SCG having this at Baltimore, and so I was very intrigued, and even seeing what he's done with it so far, it's gotten me even more intrigued. So this will be my next sketchbook.
That's pretty cool,
man. Scott, did you feel intimidated when you got it? Because I do. As soon as I got it, I was like, man, this is gonna take forever.
Well, that's kind of some of the fun part of it, right? So
how many pages is it?
I forget how many. It's a bunch.
Yeah, it looks like a lot.
I only do it on one side, so
yeah.
So it doesn't
even one side is I think it's more than most sketchbooks. So I was gonna open a few things today, but I think we're kind of short on time. So I'll save it for next time. I'm gonna save it for next time. I'll do that for now for my show and tell today. But with that said, who wants to go next?
Go for it, Jason.
All right. So 2 things. Recent Comic Link win. This is a character study.
Oh, cool.
Done by somebody that.
Nice.
So this is a character named Tiger who was introduced in Harbinger 26. And so you'll see her new. But so this is actually that didn't release until 94. This is done in 93. So this is a character study that predates her, release into comics. Was able to pick that up on the cheap in Comic Link.
Awesome. And
finally, Valiant sent me this.
Woo! That's cool.
So it's got its own little sword down here.
Is that a Funko or is that something else?
I'm sorry?
Is that a Funko or is that like...
No, it's something else. It's not a Funko. So these are the name of the company right there.
I don't know. Maybe that's why they went out of business. So
they have a Bloodshot one and an Exo one.
Okay.
And it's got the sword. So, one of the differences between VEI and VH1 is the sword. So, we didn't mention this a while ago, but at some point, he actually pulls the sword out and he'll fight with the sword at times.
Yep.
It's more of an electrical sword in VEI. But anyway, so this is included in this. And so it's dated because you could actually get 20% off purchase back promo code Divinity if done by 12/31/14. That's already expired. But yeah, so I got him so my bloodshot wouldn't be lonely. But they had left him out of my package, and I finally got them to send it to me. They kept saying they were going to, but they never did.
Good thing you caught him. I mean, VEI has been 10 years now. Then that's crazy. More than 10 years.
Yeah, more than 10 years from where they started. So yeah, it's crazy how time flies.
Time really flies. I mean, yeah, I can't wait to get Dinesh on this thing, and it'd be kind of cool. I think you should join us for that one as well. Since you have a fresh reader. So with that said, what's the latest on you? Show and tell time.
I don't have anything new really. Just my mug. I'm waiting for the art to get to me from Heritage. Nice. The page that I picked up.
So Heritage, have they shipped it out yet?
I don't think so.
Because I got 2 pages from that same auction, and I've yet to get a shipping notification.
I got mine. I got mine right here, but I'm too lazy to open it. Unless you really want to see it. But
what is it?
It's the page that I got that I completely.
The one you pay too much for?
Yeah, the one I paid too much for, but I picked up the package and it felt so heavy and like dense. I don't want to open it now.
Did you do some research on that page on Heritage?
No. What's the research?
So that page with 2 other ones sold several years ago. And it was like $200 for all 3 pages.
So that guy definitely came up big time.
Yeah, that guy's like, thank you, Carl. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what happened because I felt like talking to a few other friends. Like I had like a cap, and then for some reason I just really wanted it. Like I felt like it was like sometimes you just get committed.
Yeah.
And it feels like there was someone on the other side that was the same way. Mm-hmm. And hopefully it's not someone in this chat, but we just kept going, and I just kind of worked great, but I don't regret it. I felt like it checked off like a big box for me. And
that's all that matters.
It was a great page from an early book, and so I can't wait to show it next time when we all kind of get together again.
Nice.
Well, and I mean, of course, you had already told me that you were going after it, so I didn't. I only did on the page that Newell got. I only did the cut bid. I didn't run the rest of it up. I didn't know.
And it's still only cost a tenth of what I paid for mine.
Right.
So great.
Right. If it had gotten anywhere near that, I'd have dropped out. I'm not.
Yeah, I wasn't committed. It would have been a nice page, the one that you had got.
Yeah.
Especially at that price, but
there's
always something else.
Yeah, I felt like it was fine where I got it. I'm not upset about it.
Yeah.
I
think got classic costume on there on that one you got.
Right. Too. That's the one I prefer. Yeah.
Yes. The lesson learned is there's always more art for sure. There's always more art. The lesson is
Carl is a sucker. I mean,
that too. I'm definitely a sucker when it comes to certain art pieces, but there's always more art. You have to remind yourself.
That's right.
In your head, it was already yours, so you made it a reality.
You manifested it.
Yeah.
That happened. At the expense of my wallet.
So not to spoil anything else, but I thought about it when we were talking about Torque earlier, and some of these things that original art releases is the cover that Dinesh has, Unity cover that he still has, that Torque's actually owned that cover.
Yes.
Originally, because he was supposed to still be alive, Yeah.
And they covered it. And we should talk about that when Dinesh comes on, because I think I was there when he pulled it up and he actually decided, we're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he like ripped it open and we saw Torque under and we're like, whoa, and like everyone kind of tripped out.
Yeah.
And so it was a cool moment.
Which cover was that for?
Unity 0.
Okay.
The recreation.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So basically, Dinesh sold me Unity 1, so he could upgrade to Unity 0. Basically,
nice.
Both are fantastic covers. I mean, like you got one. I mean,
I'm happy. I'm happy with that. So,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's funny. There's a bigger story to how I missed it, and then Dinesh bought it, and then I had to get it from him later. But I missed it the first time because I was getting my COVID shot, and I was in line. I don't know if you guys remember when like the first COVID vaccines were out, and like at least in LA there you have to go to like different locations and like drive go to like a drive-through and like be in like a 3-hour line and you wait. And so we were in that drive-through line and it popped up. So I called the dealer, we're negotiating, and he looked through my cap and he saw a bunch of stuff he wanted. So we're, it got complicated. I had to start like figure out what he wanted, what not. Then as soon as we're literally made the deal, all right, cool. So here's the deal, done. Shoot, it's my turn. Let me call you right back. So I get in and then I get my shot. I thought it was gonna be like 5 minutes. Basically, what happened was they said, "Hey, do you have any allergies?" And oh yeah, I have allergies. And oh, you have to sit and wait. We have to observe you. They made me wait 30 minutes. So I finished and I was like kind of out of it because the shot. Drive back. It was by then an hour had passed, and then my sister-in-law was driving me at the time because my wife was really worried about me. And so we're driving. I was like, "Oh shit, I gotta call him back." I call him back. I was like, "Hey, so let's close this deal." He was like, "Oh, it's sold already." I was like, "What?" And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude, we just did the deal, dude." And he's like, "Yeah. Well, you didn't call me back, so I sold it." I was like, "Dude." And so, obviously, like a month later, I found out it was in Dinesh's folder. So I was like, "Oh man!" And then a year and a half later is when the whole Harbinger 4 came up, and he was like, "Man, if you're gonna pay that much for that, like, why don't you just buy this from me?" And that's how it happened. But it was it costs a lot more than when the first time.
Well, yeah,
I'm a sucker.
But it adds to the fun story of it too.
It does.
And I've seen a lot of pages that, man, I was mad they got away for whatever reason, whether I just didn't want to pony up the extra money or whatever the situation was, they got away. And then to find them, like actually see them, like where a collector got them, I'm like, okay, I'm cool with it. I would have liked to have had it, but I'm glad that somebody that's not that sells art online, fights against somebody, is going to mark it up twice as much as what he just paid for it. I'm glad another collector got it, and it's in a good home now, right?
Yeah, we saw that. We saw that this weekend with Heritage because Scott and I was looking at a page and we were like, Jason and I was looking at a page and we were like, this just got flipped like 3x after the guy won it. We're like, what the heck?
You hadn't even got it in the mail yet.
Yeah, exactly. It's already sold. I'm like, what the heck? It's like so random. And so, it was definitely one of them. Like, man, that's the worst. Like, we should have won that, Yeah. We should have won one of those.
Well, and, talking about that page and its related artist, hopefully, because my cashier's check landed in their P.O. box yesterday. And so hopefully they will be sending me that. And by the time we have the show again, I'll be able to show it.
So. Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I know what you're talking about, and I think it's going to be a fun one. Cool.
Yeah, nice.
Well, with that said, thank you everyone for tuning in. It was a fun Saturday holiday special. A little longer than usual, which is great because I felt like we didn't have to rush today because usually we have to try to close out before Bill starts the show. And so, Saturday streams are pretty fun. So thanks for making time, everyone.
Yeah, fun to be here.
Harbinger is next. So next month we'll see you again, Owen. And Jason, I'll see you soon. We'll talk soon.
Yep.
Guys.
See you guys.